The Southern Poverty Law Center has filed a lawsuit against the South Carolina Department of Social Services over the case involving a child that was born with an intersex condition. Now, this child, who is identified as MC, was born with both male and female reproductive organs. However, while the child was under the custody of the state, they made the decision for him to remove his testicles and penis in order to make him a girl. However, now that the child is 8 years old, he identifies as a male, and the adoptive parents and the Southern Poverty Law Center would like to sue the state for making that decision for him. They believe that his constitutional rights were violated. I should know that since the 1950s, many states in the U.S. did pass laws that allow healthcare providers to make that decision for the babies. And it's problematic. It's definitely problematic because there's no way to determine how that child will identify once he or she grows up. Remember, sex and gender are two completely different things. You might be born with one sex, but you might have a completely different gender identity.
God, I feel so bad for that kid. And so I don't think that the state of South Carolina was necessarily acting maliciously. I bet that if you ask those people, it was a heart-wrenching decision for them, and they didn't know how to go about it. Apparently, it's easier to do the surgery where you remove the male genitalia as opposed to the female genitalia. And I would be shocked if they weren't doing it out of a desire to help the kid.
I think you're right about that. Usually the intentions are good. They just don't want the child to have a complicated life later on. But you just don't know how that child will identify later. So making that decision for him or her is a disastrous way to go about it. Because look, now this child identifies as a boy and he lost his male reproductive organs.
No, there's no question about that. And as I'm reading the story about how they're like, well, obviously he can't get that back even though he's a boy, right? His gender is a boy. You feel so terrible about it. I felt sick to my stomach thinking, oh my God, what did you do to that poor kid, you know? But I felt conflicted about the lawsuit because I felt like, I'm not sure they did it out of malice, but at the same time, you know, you and some of the other guys made a good point during the production meeting that you know, look, this is how we get to the right place.
You have to set precedent. And if this case, I mean, first of all, the defendants in this case wanted the lawsuit to be dropped. However, a federal judge ruled, no, we will go forward because there could have been a violation, a constitutional violation here. So the case will go forward, and I think it's important for it to go forward because if the Southern Poverty Law Center and the adoptive parents do win this lawsuit, it does set a precedent and it will make changes throughout the country when it comes to dealing with these situations. As difficult as the decision is, you shouldn't mess with someone's reproductive, you know, organs until he or she is old enough to make that decision for him or herself.
Yeah, so, and reality is money rules a lot of things, right? So the next time a state goes to do that, they might think, oh, remember South Carolina got sued and lost a lot of money, so we should think twice, you know? And they should have thought twice already. I mean, given what we know now, you know, obviously don't make that decision for the kids. Yes, it's very hard to adjust later, right? But it's much harder to adjust later if you can't reverse something. So let's hope that people realize that and don't do these kind of procedures to kids going forward.